Well, welcome to the Further Insights video podcast. Really excited to have Mr. Ckori Jones Jr.
No,
Senior.
that's my son. I'm senior. He's junior.
So can I just say Ckori Jones?
Yeah, Ckori Jones.
This is
Yeah.
Ckori Jones. Welcome.
How are you?
Well, thank you for coming on today. Appreciate it. It's been awesome getting to know you through Garrick and all the other initiatives in Tyler's universe.
Absolutely.
And yeah, definitely excited to hear more about your story, your background, and kind of how you got here.
Good to have me, Andrew. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the invite. One of my first podcasts. Haven't really done many, so I appreciate the invite.
Awesome. Our pleasure. Well, yeah, I guess give us the 10,000-foot elevator pitch on who you are and what you're up to.
Well, I'm Ckori Jones, former school teacher. I actually taught for 10 years. I taught history in the Prince George's County Public School System, and was a baseball coach, coached varsity baseball, and probably 7 years into that, started a company. I had the summers off, and so when the summers are off, you're just pretty much doing nothing, and you have these 2 to 3 months off. So started a little handyman company, and it just turned into a construction company. Had to get licensed and get my MHIC. And then, a couple years after that, started flipping houses, flipped over 150 homes, which is pretty cool. All that stuff you see on TV, we did it, Ramblers and big houses.
Were
And
you still working as a teacher at that time?
No. So actually, the last 3 years of teaching, I had a handyman company, right? I started doing odd jobs in the summertime, and around the time of the subprime meltdown, there was a ton of inventory with respect to REO clients, right? Banks that owned properties, and so they started calling me in some instances because I had some relationships with some agents. Did some work in the REO space, and then probably doing that for about 2 or 3 years, then started flipping homes afterwards. So, but there's a lot in that. It wasn't that simple.
It
but
wasn't just like I'm going to quit my job and start.
Actually, when I taught for 3 years, and then I actually worked at the Department of Veterans Affairs while I continued my business. And so, but it got to the point where you can't have a job and be full time, but so long. It's kind of like a side hustle. But the construction got to be too much where I couldn't continue running the company and have a full-time job, even if you're working from home, even if you have an office. It just became not able. Sure. I wasn't able, so I had to quit my good old government job, and then I've been full-time now for 8 years.
Gotcha. And the name of the company is Brocar?
Yeah, Brocar Properties is the name of the company.
Has it been the same company the whole time, or is this a newer endeavor?
Well, that's a great question. So the company that had the construction license was Brocar Service and Repair. People used to always think that we were an automotive repair shop, but
For bros.
right?
Yeah.
We were Brocar Service and Repair. And then when I partnered with my current partner and long life friend Ashraf El Shazli, we formed a company called Brocar Properties, and so that's not only the construction wing, but also the acquisitions wing. And so we made that transition when we started buying and selling real estate instead of just renovating it. Yep.
How much cash did you need in your mind to make that jump to invest in yourself?
Well, that's a great question. Well, I guess the better question is how much money did I need to quit my job? Because when you have a job, one of the reasons why you don't quit is because, well, at least from my standpoint, I had a family. I've got 3 kids, JR, Taylor, and Peyton. JR's in college. Taylor and Peyton are both in school. Taylor's in high school. Peyton's in middle school. And that costs money if you're sending your kids to private school. And, you have a family. So, I would say, I guess to answer your question, it's for me in terms of having money to quit my job. I wanted to have a whole year's salary, right?
Sure.
But to answer your question,
Is it like I'm going to make this investment while I keep my job? Did you do that while you still have the job to test the waters, or was it like I need to have enough in the bank where if this goes bad,
right?
I've got
I
recourse?
had a couple of clients, and when you have a business, you're a slave to your clients and them sending you business. And if you don't have any business, you don't make any money, you don't get paid. You got to kill what you eat. So I wanted to have a year's salary so that if the months got slow during Christmas time, I could still, buy a Christmas present. But let me just talk to your point, though, because you had a great question. You said, how much money do you need to invest in real estate? And so I'd say.
Well, did you?
Did I?
Did you? Not anyone. Like you personally. What was that moment where you said, I I feel comfortable making this leap?
Well, it really wasn't a leap. What it was inventory that previously was sent to me to renovate stopped coming to me. It's really a long story, and I can tell you about the story if you want.
That one's a fascinating one, because I think, like, practically there's people that would be great real estate investors, but because they just don't have the financial stability personally, the idea of taking a hard money loan with limited experience, even if they know what to do, I'm probably speaking about myself right now.
Right.
It's a scary proposition. I know how to do it, know what needs to be done, have the right partners I can bring in, I've got great mentors and coaches in this space. But that leap of just saying, hey, I'm ready to start doing, rental properties, or I'm ready to start fixing and flipping. It's just a big leap if you're still in your job. And Aaron Alberti was on the show recently, and he said, I said, how does somebody get into this? And he said, quit your job. If you're not doing it full time, if you're not focused on it, you're not going to win. And he's a bit extreme in that regard. But for him, that worked. So I am very curious to hear that perspective from you, because I think there's a lot of personality types in the real estate investing world.
Okay, so I'll tell you what happened to me, and I'll tell you then the answer to your question. So for me, I didn't have a choice. And the reason why I say that is I had a client sending me properties to renovate, and they slowed when sending me those properties, because I was in a network where I was an approved vendor for several banks that needed experienced contractors to renovate REOs.
So you had the relationship.
Yeah, I had a relationship. And so at our heyday, we were doing 75 properties at one time up and down the East Coast. So we were in Rochester, New York, we were in Philly, we were in Maryland, of course, we were in DC. And so we had a lot of real estate that we didn't own, but that we were renovating. And sometimes the renovations were small. Average renovation was $20,000, $30,000. So that's substantial. And so, but that inventory began to dwindle, right? And so when that inventory began to dwindle, we had made some money, but we didn't have as many properties to renovate. And we had teams that were used to being sent to properties to renovate. And so we noticed online at auction.com that some of the properties that formerly were sent to us to renovate were showing up online for sale. So we migrated to acquisitions because we had less inventory.
It was natural evolution. It wasn't like a conscious,
it wasn't
want to buy and start fixing and flipping kind of deal.
Right. And so what I think happened was the bank started noticing after a couple of years that their retention, they were trying to be the flipper by hiring a contractor, but they started finding out that the longer they hold the property, by the end of the rainbow, when they looked at the net, they might not have made as much money as they thought they did, because the process takes a while. Plus there's all types of things.
You're telling me the bank's just a wholesale?
Well, they were a client. They were a client, just like a regular homeowner that wants a deck. They were a client. They'd say, hey, they would call a couple of real construction companies that were in their network and say how much to do a renovation. And if we were the lowest, most responsible bidder, or if we were the only person that would go in that area, maybe we're going to Southeast before it was gentrified and it was rough, and we were the only ones that would go, they would go with us as long as our price made sense. And for us, it made sense because it was consistent work, right? So, but I would say for most people, to answer your question, because my story is very unique, most people say, I want to get into real estate, right? And then they start to read books or look at YouTube, or maybe even go to a REIA meeting, right? Or talk to a mentor and say, I want to get into real estate, right? I think the thing is that, and there's a couple of different things to talk about. Number one, let's just talk about the money, which is what you talked about. The more money you have, the less money you need. Meaning, if you have 20% to put down, then you can get a lender that gives you less predatory terms. If you don't have a lot of money and you are a slave to their money, they hit you over the head. They're going to charge you, back in the day it was 15 and 5, 15 and 3, but rates are going back up now, 10 and 2, 10 and 3. But, we were fortunate enough that we got bank financing because we could put down 20%. So
we had a business leverage to go into it.
We did have that's true. We had a business. That's true. They were able to look at our tax returns. That's true.
Yeah, I just bought a house recently, and it was a process in the sense that, I own a small business, so my tax returns are all over the place for a variety of reasons.
Right.
So I was about to get to a point where I was going to take a bank statement loan based on my income because
right.
It's there.
Yes.
It was terrible. The terms were terrible. And after talking to many, many different bankers, finally found some technical refinance mechanism. I was able to get it done at a normal interest rate. But
right.
That wiped me out. I'm renovating this house as well. It's a 1920s bungalow, so that's got me. So I want to buy a lot of different, properties and start actually getting into both residential and commercial. But right now, it's like today, in my personal, I cannot do that even if I wanted to. But I could, in theory, right? There's hard money lenders. There are ways to partner up. There's ways to wholesale deals, partner up on deals, and that's great. But I run a company, and like the notion of doing that while raising a kid and building a house,
well, you
it's
can
crazy.
do it.
But that's the question. Like I know it's a great investment. I know it's a great way to control my own destiny. But that leap for me is a step too far. But I think with some people that might have a clearer path, might be single, might have the opportunity to go take a bank statement loan and actually go fix and flip quickly and get some people just have the path to do that, but I think for just most people, it just seems impractical when you get into day-to-day family life, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I do agree with you that the less the less hats you wear, if you're not married, if you don't have kids, if you don't have a career that you're running, especially if you are an owner, if you don't have these other hats to wear, you can spend more time in real estate development or at least flipping and so forth. But I will say that it's doable. A couple of recommendations. Number one, I would take on a smaller job, right? So you don't have to take on a DC job where you dig the basement out, where you do an addition, there's tons of different aspects of development with respect to a larger home that require an expertise and a lot more time. There are projects that they might not yield as big of a return, but they're kind of get in, get out. We call them carpet and paint.
Sure.
And so those are around. They don't yield as much money.
But lower risk,
reward, quicker.
But you get experience. You're comfortable with it.
Yeah, there's also properties that we call it wholesale. So you'll buy it, right? And let's say you buy it from somebody who just wants to get rid of it, and you pick it up cash, or you partner with somebody that has the cash, or you get a hard money loan. Now you gut the whole inside. And I'm not talking about drywall. Really, I'm not even talking about gutting. I'm talking about demo. Not even demo, just trash out. Just trash everything out. Make it smell good, and maybe roll one coat of paint. You might be able to sell it for $25,000 more.
The appraisal's going to come in higher.
The appraisal's going to come in higher no matter what. And so you might get a 203K client instead of a homeowner that is looking for a finished product. Are you familiar with 203Ks? Is
that the renovation?
It is the renovation bundle. So there's a streamline.
But you have to go through crazy compliance to get.
But that's the buyer. Right. So if you put this property up for sale, that's like a nice. What it could be, and you sell it to somebody who's ambitious, right? That might have a lower interest rate because they're a teacher or a police officer, and then they do a 203K loan, they can finance 110% of that. So you can sell it for more, and they probably come out of pocket less. So you might end up selling to them as opposed to having to sell it to another investor who may be looking at it saying, these margins are tight. Sure. You're selling it to the end buyer. And you can even market it as a fixer-upper for a homeowner that wants to put a little TLC into it. So, we've done wholesales for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And last but not least, wholesales also can be done when you have a property that has a tenant. There's a lot of people that would pay $30,000 more, but they don't want to deal with the tenant.
Sure.
So you buy it cash with the tenant, and then you work out something with the tenant, and now you sell it and it's vacant.
Right.
People will give you, in some instances, $500,000 for something that with a tenant they'd only give you $4.
Right.
But once it has no tenant and they don't have to deal with an eviction, or they don't have to deal with any types of issues, cash for keys or potential future damage where the tenant might damage the copper pipe or the HVAC or even light the house on fire. So what we've done a lot of times is before buying a property, if we're going to do a wholesale, we've talked to the person that's in there to get a good feeling of whether there's some sort of reciprocal, we're trying to discern whether this is a good person. And if we feel like it's a good person, we might take it down and then work something out with them. We might already have it worked out, but we don't let the buyer know, the seller know we've worked it out. We work it out, pick it up, get them out, and then sell it to somebody else, and we don't even have to do any repairs. So those are creative ways. Another creative way is house hacking. Are you familiar with house hacking? House hacking is what I tell all my college students and young adults that are going to go buy. So of course you can rent, or of course you can buy a single family home, but who wants to rent, right? You don't get the tax write-off, and the only thing it allows you to do is kind of be mobile. And who wants to buy a big old house and you don't have any kids? So what do? You house hack. You buy a 2-unit or a 4-unit, and then you're able to move into it and everybody's paying your rent.
Your mortgage is getting paid with the rent.
Absolutely. But it's a very viable option because, the last 2 4-units that me and Ashraf sold, we sold to people that were planning on living in it.
Sure.
That's how they were able to get.
That's a shared asset.
And the financing they get is 30-year fixed.
Cool.
So if you sell to another investor, right, they're going to get some 5-year, maybe it used to be 10-year, but now it's like It used to be 10, 7, now it's 5 years, which means that their rate's going to be adjustable, which means that they're not going to really want to get in, especially if rates are going up, right? But a 30-year fixed loan, that means the mortgage payment's going to be a lot less. And so, plus they're playing all their escrow in it, so they don't have to worry about all this other stuff. So house hacking is an outstanding way as a young person to get into it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your portfolio as Brocar? What does that look like primarily in terms of rentals versus fix and flip and other kinds of properties?
Well, we used to do 10 flips at a time, 5 to 10 flips at a time, right? That was when the market was great. And so now we've been focusing on 1 or 2 flips at a time.
Same area?
No.
Yeah.
We've transitioned as we've gotten better. And when I say gotten better, I mean more knowledgeable. Because when I first started, I was literally a handyman. And when we were doing bank work, we were doing a lot of carpet and paint, maybe a HVAC install.
Making it livable for
somebody. But we weren't going down, taking something back and taking it up, doing additions. And when I say an addition, I mean turning a 4-unit into an 8-unit or condo conversions. Those things do require specialized knowledge. When we were doing jobs in the county, we really weren't using an architect or an engineer. There was no need for a CFO, didn't have to check zoning. Now when we're doing DC projects, a lot of times they require it to get the highest comp available. So, if you have a property, you pick it up for $500 and you put $100 in it, it might be worth $650, $750. But if you either change the use and add an additional unit downstairs or change the egress in the basement and put a front entrance, take it up, take it back, now you might get $1.4.
Sure.
So, you pick it up for $600, but you're going to get $1.4. You got to
rezone commercial. You take a residential.
Not commercial, but just a change of use. Not a change of use, but a change of occupancy in terms of
multifamily.
2 units. If it was a single unit, now it's a legal 2-unit. So if it's a legal 2-unit, you can rent that rear unit, or at least you have a second unit for the purposes if the seller the buyer when they buy it, now it's 2 units as opposed to 1.
So is multifamily, would you say your guys' special sauce expertise in the space? It sounds like that. I mean, more than most people I've talked to, especially in the local area, like that are in the scene, like multifamily and rentals, especially, it's not as big of a talking point, but I know it's a huge market and something I'm personally interested in. Yeah,
I can tell you this much. We're learning as we go. However, our long-term play and what we're doing currently are multifamily. And so we have got a couple bread and butter situations that we really like. One of them is affordable housing. And so, me and my business partner, Ashraf, come from giving back. So, meaning we were school teachers. He taught math, I taught history. And so when we buy a property in DC, we don't always flip it. If the equity is right, we potentially keep it, refinance it, and then move in a low-income family. There are a lot of families. Now, some families on voucher families, well, the world is filled with different people, right? And that's the same with families that are on quote-unquote Section 8. And what we found is there are some really, really hard-working but low-paid people. We have one lady, she's her son's team mom on the football team. She's head of the PTA, but her wage is $27,000 a year. And so in DC, the average house is like $600,000. Where is she going to go? She just doesn't make a lot of money. She doesn't have a college degree, and she makes a solid 30. And so we bought a home in Northwest on North Capitol Street, and we renovated it to the nines. And then instead of flipping it and selling it, which would have been nice, and it would have been given us the ability to generate some revenue, we decided to rent it out and rent it to her. And
when you want to sell it?
When we want to sell it, we can. But I think everybody needs to own a little piece of DC.
Sure.
DC is 10 miles by 10 miles. And so if you can buy something, right, refinance it, right, and get some money back that's not taxable, hold on to it, and have somebody else pay it down so that your children can own it, I think unless you need the cash, that's a smart decision.
Can you write any of this? Is this like a truly charitable endeavor?
Yeah, it is. Put it like this: instead of taking all the money now on the flip, you get back some money on the refinance, assuming that you bought it right and the construction didn't cost you an arm and a leg. So you make some money, not as much, but it's really more of a long-term play.
Is there a tax benefit to that in DC? Because I know there's like weird restrictions, regulations there, and benefits.
Yeah, so we did get a historic tax credit on this property because it's historic, so there was a tax credit there. Now, in terms of like low income tax credit. We didn't get like a low income tax credit. What we are getting is cash flow,
exactly.
and we have equity.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, that works.
Yeah,
and that's
doing good while doing good, right?
There you go.
Conscious capitalism kind of deal, which
that's
not really present in the real estate investing world. So
right.
I'm glad to hear.
Yeah, that's one of our niches that we like a lot. Yeah, and we've actually, if you go to our website brocarproperties.com, we've done a couple of videos. We have a tab to the far right that says community, and then you'll look and you'll see a couple of videos where we had people that we've done that for, and where they used to live, and then now where they live, and their family moving in. So we think a lot about that.
That's great. It's like giving back.
Oh yeah,
business. The Tom Shoe model,
for sure. What goes around comes around, man.
I agree. No, it's great. Yeah, we try to work with nonprofits as much as possible. I think just in general, the power of the internet is being able to give people information and access to things they would have had to pay for.
Right.
And that's what's been really exciting about just content like this, is that we can bring guests on like yourself that have a perspective, have knowledge that you really can't learn in a textbook because it's uniquely personal to you, and then share it with people out there and help them figure out their path. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, I would completely agree. It's why I'm getting better at drums. YouTube. When else can I listen to Steve Gadd and Billy Cobham? When else? Previously I was a slave to this guy that thought he knew how to teach that wasn't very good, but the internet has opened up a wide channel.
We got to work with Billy Cobham through a client of ours. I've had several FaceTime, Google meetings with Billy Cobham, and he is the nicest guy in the world. And he had an idea to write a book, which I hope he does, but he is truly a giver. He wants to share his knowledge with everybody and share what he's learned and his incredible career. And the guy's one of the baddest drummers on the planet.
Yeah.
But he's just a humble, chill dude, flying back and forth from his home to do clinics, and it's cool.
One of the reasons why I'm not stingy with information is because it's not hard. Well, it is sometimes difficult to find out what to do, but the hard part is doing it. Like everybody knows, if you want to lose weight, work out, right? And eat right. But it's hard to do it. And so,
until you do it, that wasn't that bad.
Right, until you do it and you see it's not that bad.
Exactly. I was a broke fat kid, frankly.
Did you?
I don't like working out or exercising, but I pushed myself somehow to do 2 marathon and triathlon, and then pandemic, personal issues. I've been pretty stagnant for a year and a half.
Get back on the horse.
Going back my first bike ride in a while tomorrow morning with a friend of mine. And it just takes that step.
Yeah, it does.
And when you've been through it, you know how to get the cycles to be a little bit shorter. But life is tough, and especially right now for a lot of people. And I'm very blessed that I was able to get a home recently and purchase a home for myself. But there's so many people that don't have access to housing. Don't have these basic needs met in a city like Baltimore, DC. It sounds like as well. That need is so severe that even the idea of going and learning how to code on YouTube becomes this crazy thought. But you have kids in third world countries who now have access in some cases, not all countries, but to learn how to do whatever they want if they apply themselves. But that space between are my basic needs met? Do I have a roof over my head? How am I going to have this meal versus how do I apply myself to sell? It's a very big gap. So I don't know if you guys are consciously thinking about solving that problem at a macro level with other people, or if you're really consciously thinking about just doing the right thing at all with the ethos of your company. But it sounds like you're really kind of putting your money where your mouth is and trying to make an impact with your work and help people get a life for themselves.
Well, I think in addition to trying to get people really good housing, to get people that live in the city to not have to leave the city and have them be able to live in an area that is not riddled with drugs, but to have them be able to, with their voucher, move to a nicer part of the neighborhood does feel good. But to your point, how are we taking our company and trying to give back? I can speak very specifically. Now, I mentioned that Ashraf and myself were both teachers. One of the things that I found in the educational realm, and I just mean as a high school teacher, was that there was a tremendous focus on 2 things, math and science, right? And then after that, English and history, they kind of matter. It's good to know how to write. But back in the day, there used to be culinary arts, there used to be wood shop, there used to be hospitality, and you do find that there are some schools, I know in Prince George's, there's Oxon Hill has it, and then there's this other school that has it, but it's not at every school. And guess what's not at any school? Real estate. And so what we've tried to do is get kids to understand real estate. I think what a lot of people do is teach adults real estate. But if you look at real estate, what is it really? Real estate it gives you the opportunity to learn really basics that even if you don't become an agent or an investor, you're learning about credit. You're learning about renting versus ownership. You're learning about equity. You're learning about all these things. Like one of the things that my kid has is a credit card. He uses his credit card and he pays it off once a month. I didn't do that. I didn't even get a credit card until after college when I was flooded with credit card opportunities because I was a teacher and I had a job. Then I got my first credit card. My son has a credit card now. And so he has that because of my understanding of how to increase your credit. Why is credit even a conversation? Because I'm in real estate and credit is a part of what I do. And so I love real estate because it opens up young people's eyes to basics that are relevant to just being an adult. And so even like property taxes and just things of that nature. So we have done some work with the youth 2 years in a row. One organization that's a nonprofit that's done a phenomenal job across the country. They even partnered with Jennifer Lopez and what's the hitter that used to play for the Yankees? Alex Rodriguez. He Project Destin. Cedric Bobo has done a phenomenal job across the country teaching commercial real estate to young people in disadvantaged areas. And now we have in the District of Columbia come alongside with one of the largest African-American charter schools in the country to work in a cohort of 15 children this summer, and next summer hopefully at least 100 kids, teaching them real estate. And so that's what we did this summer, and that's what we plan on doing next summer, giving back. And I'm thinking that, one of the main problems with the youth in the inner city is that they don't benefit from real estate. Their family sells and then they leave, or they're renting, but people that live in the area should benefit from the excitement in that area. And so that's what we're trying to do. So I'm very proud of that for sure.
Is that a national plan to take real estate as a curriculum piece and get it into schools? Do you think that's something we need across the board?
Well, I think that a lot of people, it's like ideas, it's like Uber was an idea, but somebody had to get it done, right? There's a lot of good ideas. What's that other food that you buy food on your phone and then it just, like Uber Eats or, DoorDash, right? Like that's a concept, right? And so this is a concept.
Sure. How's it going so far? Are the kids responsive?
Yeah. Well, not only are the kids responsive, I think it was a phenomenal time this summer. I think that the most difficult thing is scaling correctly. And so we're in the process of dotting our I's and crossing our T's so that we do it correctly. Because a lot of people have a lot of ideas, but the implementation is the most important thing. So like I said, we did a little cohort, little pilot, so to speak, this summer that really worked out phenomenal. In fact, one of our partners, their name escapes me, they gave a scholarship to every kid that was in the cohort. They gave them a $1,000 scholarship to get their real estate license.
Wow.
Colwell Banker. So this broker, he was a part of our initial curriculum brainstorming, and because we had to draw up a curriculum, we weren't sure what we wanted to teach them, and we had a bunch of real estate agents, construction companies, developers, and wholesalers in one room, about 60 or 70 of them in one room at the corporate headquarters for the nonprofit. And we had stickies on the wall where we were writing, what do we think these kids need to learn? And then we brought in an educational person that drafted a curriculum. And so that was phenomenal. And then the kids got a ton of on-the-job training where they were able to go to title companies, go to job sites, talk to sellers, talk to buyers. They weren't just in the classroom learning from a teacher out of an ebook, which does help, but they were able to go and physically see a 15-unit getting built. They were able to see what a joist is. They were able to be there for the inspection by the District of Columbia. And literally we brought the kids to a Tyler Banks meetup. And they were able to listen to the public speaker and see investors, and it was an outstanding time. So this is going to proliferate. We're just working on the infrastructure currently, but we have until next summer to roll it out because we're choosing to do it as a work release program. The kids are during the school year going to school. In the summer they're off, and that's typically when kids will do like an internship. For college kids, they'll do an internship in the winter, when they're off school for like a month, and then in the summertime, where they can work full time, because during the year they're in class.
once a teacher, always a teacher, huh?
Yeah, man, I do like teaching, and it disturbs me that people withhold information because information is key. There's a lot of people, if they just knew, they would do it, but it's so hard. And then there's this good old boy network that if you like your dad knows something, now the son knows, but the kid down the street doesn't know, and so it's not that he's not capable, he just doesn't have the resource to tell him where to go.
You just explained the history of the world in like a very flickable 30 seconds there. No, it's true. I mean, that's how oppression has worked throughout time. People withhold information, and then everybody's left out. And the ones that have the secret formula, Coca-Cola down the line, but then you have people that are saying, I'm not going to accept that. I'm going to break down that barrier. I'm going to break down that wall. And it's incredible to see the rate of change that's happening now. And I credit the internet a lot. A lot of people hate Facebook, hate the good that's come of this. Is so much. The value is just so much more than the damage. The short-term stuff is bad. There's bad stuff that happens. There's bad stuff in the world. So, and the more people can see what's going on and share information, the better the world could be. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a gun, if you have a gun and somebody gets killed, I mean, well, shoot, the same gun can protect you.
That's right.
I mean?
Exactly.
So it depends on why you're using it. But thank God that our military has guns because not to say that I'm pro-gun or pro-not-gun, but just
there's an argument to be had about responsibility, personal responsibility.
Absolutely.
But, I think without a basis for people to actually explore life from, if they're, mom's not there, dad's in jail, what does that kid do? And in Baltimore in particular, we see this in a real way, and real estate is so directly tied to the fate of this generation, let alone future generations right now.
No, it is.
And that's what excites me the most, frankly, about commercial real estate personally, because I think those anchors can become, community centers and get people together.
Right.
DC sounds like it's a similar market. I mean, do you think these problems that we face in Baltimore in particular are unique to Baltimore, or is this just socioeconomics at play in general?
Well, Baltimore's a lot bigger. It's a lot larger. DC's 10 by 10, and then DC has these economic anchors that are so more helpful to it. I mean, Baltimore does have the hospital. It has Under Armour. It has the stadiums. But DC has the federal government and big tech, and then it's a smaller place. So I think Baltimore, unfortunately, has a harder row to hoe based on size and economic anchors. And then, of course, DC has this transit system that's underground. It's rolling you right there. So I think DC definitely has an advantage over Baltimore, but that doesn't mean that Baltimore can't make it. But I do think that they're two separate situations.
It's not a one-to-one in the country, right? Like there's affordable housing isn't the same in Baltimore as it is in Austin, Texas, where I lived for a while. It's not the same problem.
Yeah, it definitely is different, but there are some areas, if you did a Venn diagram, these are the things that are different, but in the middle are the similarities. There is some overlap, but I think that DC and Washington DC and Baltimore have a lot of differences. Now, a lot of investors don't come to Baltimore, and a lot of Baltimore investors don't come to DC. Me and my business partner, we like both markets. We think that both markets have things to offer. They have things.
Is the Hyperloop going to happen? What do you hear about that?
No, I don't know.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool. That would be cool, but I can't.
The Mark's fine.
Yeah, no, the Mark is
not
fine.
bad.
I went to Bowie State University, and Mark came right up there. That's why a lot of kids from from Baltimore were able to make the trip. What is it? What's the drive? What is it like? An hour? 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Not at all.
But no, I'm going to a concert in a couple weeks in DC. I'll go here and there, but like the idea of driving there to go to dinner and driving even Columbia, like there's so much in Baltimore too, and I think that's funny too, seeing a lot of people leaving who would have been DC residents or are from DC coming to Baltimore because the quality of life you can have because it's not a 10 by 10 square.
Yeah,
it's and like we look at the opportunity in Baltimore from a real estate investor perspective, like. Just blocks and
you
blocks
can buy
of
a block.
House
Yeah.
You can take your life in your hands when you buy that block. That's the sad part. But like, if somebody can make that leap and be a pioneer and get all the upside, there's a lot of opportunity. Like the dollar housing program, in theory, I don't know what's going to happen if that happens again.
I think it just takes time. I think it just takes time.
I think the old school in Baltimore would say, how much more time do you want? It's been a lot of time since these issues have been in the city, and I think things are getting a little bit better, but it takes us. It takes
a reinvestment, and it does.
Not the government. The government's not going to solve it. No. I think everybody's waiting for them, but to empower a kid like Eric, Zavala, like we did with Garrick, that kind of thing can change the trajectory of one block, one community, and then an entire city if we can empower more people like that to go and do real estate. So I think that program, like that should be in Baltimore. That's such a need for kids that we could never imagine owning a business, let alone being a successful investor or contractor, whatever it might be. So it's compelling.
Yeah, no, I think Garrick was a phenomenal situation where the group chose Eric to, and for people that don't know what Garrick is, and tell them what Garrick stands for. It's the Great American
Real Estate Investment Challenge.
That's right. Yes. And so there was a group of us led by Tyler Banks of Charm City Builders, and the Garrick organization had a multitude of people that submitted their applications to be selected. And be selected for what? To be selected to learn how to flip a house. And so there were a few of us on the panel of, I guess you would call us, we were people that were teaching them the different ins and outs of construction and the sales aspect and the acquisition and the disposition, which is the sale. And we chose a young man by the name of Eric, and he actually was a high school graduate. He seemed like he was 30 years old.
Yeah, he was still in high school when we took him, yeah.
And so he was chosen, and he went through our training module. He learned a ton of stuff from our toolbox. He did a ton of on-site visits and learned about how to do this and do that as it relates to construction. And eventually we sold the house, and he made some money, and he got to keep the money. And his plan is to reinvest it back into real estate. And so the Garrett goal is each one teach one, but don't just give him a fish, teach him how to fish. And so we're following up with him so that he can do this again and again. And his family was super thankful and excited. And he was actually at the Tyler Banks meetup as well. So I've got his number on my phone, and I send him a scripture in the morning. He's a good guy.
Absolutely,
and so,
he's a great kid.
Yeah, and so we're looking forward to doing it again. And I think programs like that and the DC program that we have collectively, when people decide to do good things for the community, it's a win-win. We do get a write-off for it. We also get the marketing aspect where people see the visibility of the company and they want to get behind us. Big business, we've been contacted by several organizations that want to support us to do it again. And then people that didn't have as much as they have now have more, and they can channel it into something positive. I think about the story of a guy by the name of Jonathan Dela Cruz, who I've worked with on multiple transactions. He actually, when he was 20, got shot in the back. He was studying for his real estate exam, and he was shot in the back by a home invader that just came in and shot him, and he can't walk. He's paralyzed from the waist down. And so Jonathan, he started a nonprofit called Thump Yard. And so Thump Yard's theme is guns down, gloves up. And so they got their first sanctioned boxing event. It was about a month ago, where there were like 30 fights. And they've been on Channel 9 and so forth, and they're really making a killing in the Prince George's County area. And I think that that is an example of someone that took something for bad and turned it into good. You got a lot of kids that have a lot of anger. Mom might not be there, dad might not be there, socioeconomic status might be down, and they might turn to violence. Well, no better way than to channel your violence into a sport that might be, football, boxing, wrestling, but you can get it out without going to jail. And so I wanted to give a shout out to Jonathan Dela Cruz and his brother, Rigoberto Dela Cruz, for the wonderful work they're doing with the Thump Yard.
That's awesome. No, I'd love to go to an event. I'm a big boxing fan, so it'd be cool to go.
It's on YouTube. If you just type in the Thump Yard, you'll see it. They've got a ton of content, and they could probably use further insights, by the way.
Yeah. It seems like, from all the conversations I've had with you and seeing you do some public speaking, that faith plays a pretty major role in your life, and seemingly the way you conduct yourself and do business. Is that something that you found as an adult, or has that been a part of your life from the beginning?
Well, that's a great question. So I grew up Catholic, and so I was confirmed in 8th grade. I was an altar boy mainly to get out of class. I was excited about the fact that if you were an altar boy, that you would get to get up there and leave 8th grade.
Yep.
And so I went to St. John's Military High School, Catholic school in Washington, D.C., and I remained Catholic. And when I went to college at Bowie State, real interesting story, I saw this real pretty girl. I was in what we call the stacks. It was the top part of the library that had all of the books you needed to do if you were doing some sort of report. And she was real pretty. And I said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Where are you going?" She said, "I'm going to Bible study." I said, "So am I." So that's actually how I got a little more serious about my faith, because when I went to the Bible study, there were a group of college students that were Christians, and they were, like all of the people that I lived in the dorms, they were smoking, drinking, going to parties, like girls, like doing this, doing that. And I lived in the athletic dorm. And so we were just being regular guys. It wasn't like that was abnormal. But these people were like talking about, a missions trip or something like that. And I was like, huh? But I went there because of the girl. And so I decided to keep going back to that Bible study because it felt like a good thing to do. And it also kind of woke me up as it relates to just, what am I doing if I die? When I die, where am I going to go? It made me question some of those things. And previously I was just living. I wasn't thinking about when I die. I was daggone 20 years old. Like, I'm thinking about sports and food and girls. And yeah, that was it. And PlayStation. So, from that time, I kind of I think the next step was I went to my church, a church that the small group, that all of the people at that small group, that Bible study, went to the same church, and they invited me. So I went, and I was at a summer program where I was playing drums, and I was playing the drums, and the minister of music said, "You play drums?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "We need you to play drums." And so I started playing drums at the church.
That's how they get you.
And so that's how they got me.
Every time.
That's how they got me. And I played drums there for 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and so I definitely try to live according to the Word, and it is my faith plays a tremendous role in how I make decisions. I was talking to a lady yesterday about treating people right when you need them, but then when you don't need them, treating them differently. And I find that in the industry, when people need you, that's when they treat you good. They're like, whatever you need. But if they don't need you, or if in fact you need them, that's when they're less likely, because they have their own thing they're doing. And people tend to treat you better when they need you. And so one of the things I try not to do is treat people well when I need them. I try to treat people well all the time. And so that's one of the things I think that's missing. If I'm driving and somebody puts their blinker over, I'm not speeding up. Some people, when you put your blinker over, that's when they won't let you in. They were fine driving the way they were. The minute you put your blinker on, that's when they want. No, you're not getting in for what? I don't even understand why. Exactly. You were going 65. Yeah. That's not really biblical or anything like that.
No, but it is, because everyday actions are rooted in experience of the past, and we can learn from that to apply to our day-to-day lives. And
absolutely.
Some people only have that. They don't have the business experience, or being like, some people only have that, and that's a whole separate discussion.
Right.
Bring those two things together with code of conduct.
Right.
I mean, that's a unique thing that only religion or some kind of higher calling can do. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that it's important to try to live your faith as opposed to live any old way and then go to church.
Right.
And a lot of times, man, some of the people that don't even really go to church live their faith out better than the people that are in church attendance every week, because going to church is not what saves you, and it's certainly not what validates your faith. It's the way you live on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Totally.
My dad used to say, "Actions speak louder than words."
No, amen. No, it's interesting. My grandfather was a Holocaust survivor, so he didn't have the chance to go to college.
Oh, wow.
He only knew the Talmud, which is like the Jewish basically laws and the commentary, and it's an interpretation of the Bible and basically code of conduct, more or less, based on the Old Testament.
Yes.
That's what they did in his shtetl, which is a small village. They were farmers, they studied, and they went to synagogue, and they enjoyed life before the war. And then, he was the only one who survived, came here, and started a very successful business after trying to be a teacher. Actually, he was a poet.
Oh, really?
Tried to be a teacher, didn't make enough money. My grandmother had a cousin in Denver in the grocery business.
Okay.
That cousin fired my grandfather, said, "You're never going to make it in this business."
Oh, really?
After coming back to Baltimore, one corner grocery store turned into 48, and then he sold it eventually to Rite Aid and got out, lived the American dream. But he only knew the Talmud as his source of education knowledge. Right. It's fascinating to me how much that can guide somebody.
Right.
And I think we've, as a society, gotten very far away from that, and with very good reason in a lot of people's cases of why they don't want to be affiliated with religion. I mean, there's a lot of good and bad with everything, but that central code of conduct or that way of being that you can derive from religion is so powerful if it's done right and not in a pretentious way. And you just do that really well. And having seen you speak at the meetups, Tyler's meetups, like you come off with a little bit of a ministry vibe sometimes. Like,
well,
you can do the gift of gab thing pretty well.
I hope so. But I'll tell you what. Yeah. I'll tell you what. In Romans, right, the Apostle Paul, he talks about every man having a moral code written on their heart. And so we know, right? We know that if somebody is getting beat up unjustly, we know we should try to help. We know, regardless of the fact that women are equal and all that, we know we should open a door for a woman. I mean, that's chivalry. I mean, it's not because she's less than. It's because I'm going to open up this door for her. We know that if a pregnant woman is on a train standing, I'm going to get out of my seat and let her sit down. No, we know that. That's not about anything other than we know, right? We know that if somebody is getting abducted, that we shouldn't just walk by.
That feeling that
we know.
For most people, it's hardwired into our brains.
Yeah, we know.
There's a lot of people that saw really bad things.
Right.
And I've experienced trauma in ways that some of us can't comprehend.
Well, I think you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
And I think that if somebody does something in the name of a faith, that doesn't make the faith wrong.
Sure.
If somebody says I am a Jewish person, I'm going to kill everybody in the name of, that doesn't mean that they're a moron.
No.
They're lying.
Right.
I don't.
They're mentally ill.
Yeah, they're mentally ill. Whatever
they have new names for what we used to look at exorcisms. They're actually
I don't care how many priests do what they do. That's wrong. I don't care who they are, because people do wrong things.
Right.
People from all faiths do wrong things.
But the same people, to your point, go to church or synagogue and to the community they're one way, but behind closed doors they're a different way.
Yeah.
Living the life that you believe you should live. And not doing it for anybody but yourself,
right,
is only possible if you submit to this higher power of any kind.
That's right.
And then we realize our smallness, and then you become even bigger because you realize how insignificant we are, how limited time is.
That's right.
And then religions of all kinds become incredible, and you can learn
appreciate
from that.
Yes, you can.
But so many people don't have the opportunity to do that, and I think a lot of the work you're doing hopefully will inspire people that would have never thought about going into real estate or even thought about the idea of getting out of their neighborhood or something like that.
I agree.
Become a reality, because it's something different than failing biology 3 times or something. Whatever. I make the lights get far me, but yeah.
I'll tell you, money shouldn't rule all your decisions. Money should be taken in consideration. I think in a lot of instances, people they have time, they have their talent, and they have their treasure, and the 3 T's. And like for me, I know baseball. I've been playing baseball my whole life. I've been playing my drums my whole life. And so I coach a baseball team. Now, I haven't coached a baseball team my whole life, but that's one of the things I do to give back. Now, if you don't have the time to coach a baseball team, you might just give a couple of hitting lessons to the kid down the street, because you might be friggin' busy. And then I play the drums. I played drums for 22 years from a church. I don't do that anymore, but I remember about 2 months ago, I gave this little girl a little drum lesson, and your mindset just has to be give back. My mom, she hasn't formalized it in any type of entity, so to speak, but she has what I would call a nonprofit, although it doesn't have an EIN, called Pass Love Along. And all she does is create bags of goodies that are healthy, and she gives them out. She goes to the police department every week. She goes to the county council every week. If she finds out, people in the neighborhood tell her when somebody's goes to the hospital, or if there's any issue, if she hears about any type of thing, she goes to that house and drops off a love gift and writes them a card. Now, she has a lot of time. She's not employed. My dad, when he finished working 30-some years for the federal government and then passed away, he provided her with life insurance, and so she gets a check. So it's a medium. She's not rich, but she has enough money to pay for her bills. So what is she doing with her time? She's doing Pass Love Along. And everybody in the neighborhood knows her, and she actually has a what is it called? It's you keep cold stuff in it at a baseball game. It's a cooler. She has a cooler at the front with every day she stocks it with ice. Nice. And she puts water and apple juice and these things called spindrift in them. And then she has another basket where she keeps freshly popped, skinny pop popcorn. And anybody can come up and grab it. Like, so I'm telling
Mrs.
you.
Jones, you're welcome to our house anytime. Seriously, please, free it.
I'm serious. She also, we have this video walkie-talkie called Marco Polo, and it's a video walkie-talkie, meaning you can do a video and then send it to multiple people. Well, she decides to not do a sermon and send it to multiple people. She decides to do one sermon for one person and another sermon so she does 30-some sermons every Thursday.
So it's in your genetics now, basically.
I mean, well, she's way better than me. I mean, my mom is. I mean, I'm trying. I don't want to come on here like some saint. I mean, I can tell you this much.
You're doing a lot, man. Compared to most people I know, you really are. You're putting yourself out there. You're doing the best you can to help as many people as you can.
I could do better. I mean, I could do better.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I could do better. But I am very.
But you're doing it.
I'm very thankful for what I have, and I tell my son that it doesn't have to be this way. You know what I mean? The way things are. I have a pretty nice house. A little swimming pool in the back, and I got money in the bank and nice clothes, and I'm very thankful for what I have. And what's interesting, not to give too much information, but I bought my house, but the man who had my house, he used to have multi-million-dollar contracts with the federal government, and he lost the house. He contracts. When you're doing government contracts, it doesn't mean that that's indefinite. And so at my house, I have the architectural plans. It has his family name at the top. He had that house built from the ground up, and he lived there, and then he lost it. Wow. So just because one day you're making all this money and you have this big house doesn't mean you get to keep it. A good buddy of mine, and I hate to make this somber, but a good buddy of mine who coached with me, Glenn Hannon, who was the head of SBA, he, at 53, came in from cutting the grass, sat down next to his son, and passed away right there. That happened like 4 months ago. And so he was young. That was my guy. He was a walk-on at Boston University, pitching. They called him Bull, and he was a really great man. And very young. I'm 47.
The Bull.
Yeah, they called him the Bull.
Great nickname for a pitcher.
Bull. Yeah. And so
fastball, huh?
Fastball. He could throw. He was a very smart man. And so, anyway, I'm just saying that I'm not. You know how when you have something nice and then you have it for a while, you don't like it as much because it's older now. Like when I was younger, like shoes. Like if I got Jordans and then I got the black ones and then the red ones came out. Now the black ones are old, and I'm like, I want the red ones. I just got the black ones. Like, what? So
besides all of your other saintly qualities, is that your vice material? Do you seem to like nice things? Does that play a role? Do you think in terms of is that the thing you like? Allow yourself to be a human being.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I've gotten away from name brands and more into how it looks. And so there was this time in my life where you wanted a nice name brand thing. But now, because of my body and gaining a little weight, I mean, I'm trying to lift and all that. I'm looking for just what fits right. But I don't know that that's a vice. My business partner, he's like, because I cut hair. That's one of the other things I do. And he says to me, Ashraf says, don't cut my hair too crisp. I don't want it to look too perfect. And I'm like, I want my thing perfect. Exactly. So, I can't get away from wanting
It's the military school.
Yeah.
It's not about like
materialism.
The item itself.
Yeah,
it's
looking
just
good.
Making sure it's good and that you're regimented and disciplined.
Well, my dad said, look, man, you want to get a pair of black pants, blue pants, and brown pants, and then get a bunch of white shirts, and then a navy blue jacket and a black jacket.
That's right.
He said, just get that.
And then you're set.
He said, then you're set.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did as a teacher, and I could mix up the combinations, But,
because you don't have to dress up for your job. You're the boss. Do whatever you want. You don't have to. But I think there's something that Deion Sanders look good, feel good, play good, pays good, right? There's something to it. And I really try not to put on any nice clothes ever. I try to be comfortable. I just do the branded swag. But when you put a suit on, there's a feeling that occurs. Like something happens to you.
I generally do the branded swag like you. But if I'm going to a meetup or if I'm coming somewhere like this, I want to look solid. I want to look professional. I like the way The Rock dresses. You ever seen The Rock when
he's always in gyms with the cutoffs?
Well, no, not that. Not that. There's a show he was on. I forget. It was a football show. He was an agent. But
Ballers.
Yeah, Ballers. I actually stopped watching Ballers because it got a little risque. But the first season was really good, and every time he would wear something, he would kind of dress really nice. It was awesome.
He had the look. He had
the
agent look,
even vests, nice vests. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Actually, Tyler reminded me about a friend of mine, Yehuda Estreicher, JBD Clothiers. He does custom suits.
Yes.
And he fits Ravens. He fits local entrepreneurs. Like Tyler, I was saying, it's that custom suit thing is for men of a certain age.
Yeah, it's a must.
Go to Men's Warehouse, buy as many suits as you want. It's not going to fit. And I really would like a refund. Seriously, for the last, they sold me a custom suit that was far from it. But it's got to fit properly. It's got to feel good. Right. I think it's a lot of business in the mindset. So no, it's cool that you own it.
Trying to.
Yeah. That's cool, man. So what else? What do you do for fun besides church, drums, and real estate?
What do I do for fun? I mean, I play ping pong. I have a ping pong table in the basement. I have a pool table with a ping pong tabletop, but I play more ping pong than pool. The pool is more if I have a get together. It's kind of something for a social activity. I watch a lot of baseball. I have the package, so all the baseball that comes.
Orioles Nationals, or doesn't matter?
It's hard because I grew up watching Eddie Murray, Jim Dwyer. I grew up loving the Orioles, but then the Nats came, and the Orioles weren't very good.
The Nats have been pretty good.
They had
the time
right. I mean, I was at every single series, except for the Nats play-in game where they beat the Brewers. I wasn't there when Soto got a hit off Hader to right field to score late in the eighth. But I went to every series, and I almost went to Houston and flew to Houston, but I didn't, and then we won. But, I love the Orioles. I'm a hometown guy. I like the Caps. I like the Wizards. I like the Commanders. I love the Ravens. Can't believe Lamar didn't get signed. I mean, what are we thinking?
Somebody's going to sign him.
Somebody's going to sign him.
If he keeps up at this rate, we just somehow figure out Bashadi or whoever's listening. I don't know, Harbaugh, please just figure out how to get past the first round of the playoffs, because it's not Lamar anymore. We can't blame this guy. The guy is on fire.
Yeah, I think the challenge with the way he plays, I don't want to say he plays reckless, but he's not afraid.
Right.
He reminds me of a kid at the park that's gone. And it almost seems like he can't get hurt.
No, I mean, it's going to catch up with him. I forgot who was commenting on this. I think Ed Reed was talking about this. My dad was telling me about that.
At some point. Because it's like war. When you're fighting at war, somebody might just stick you in the side and you didn't even see him. And now it had nothing to do with your.
But that's how he's living. That's how he's living.
I think that's why. I think maybe they should give him a larger short-term contract. People don't want to invest in him long-term because they don't know his playing style. I don't know. I mean, Brady has made a living playing 25 years by sitting in the pocket.
For sure. But Mahomes is the middle ground, right? There is a way of play, and Lamar's passing game could catch up to his run potential.
His passing game is solid.
For my fantasy team's sake, if J.K. Dobbins would just run the ball and they just let him do it, and somehow they could get the offensive line to create a little hole for him. Lamar just can't carry the team himself is what it comes down to for any team, and then he can be protected.
Absolutely.
But until then, the guy's a winner. He's going to win games. That's all he knows.
No, he is.
He's Ricky Bobby, from Talladega Nights. There's no in between.
You know what he has? He has the same thing Steph Curry has. Steph Curry believes he's going to make the shot from half court.
Exactly.
And so Lamar, if you look at his videos, even from college, where they said, "Are you going to be the second pick?" and he said, "Second pick." He said, "No, I'm not going to be the second pick." No, he was very serious about that. But let me get back to answer your question. You asked me about hobbies and so forth, and I will say that I have a hobby, and it's going out to eat with my wife. We try to date at least once a week, and that's a lot, right? And when I say date, what I mean eat dinner together out.
What's your favorite restaurant or kind of food between the two of you?
So seafood and American. I like
surf and turf.
Surf and turf.
Yes,
I like clam chowder, but I don't like lobster bisque, and I do like Manhattan. And I love red soups, like vegetable soup. I love Italian restaurants that can kind of commingle pasta with seafood with like a red spicy marinara. Not really big on white sauce, but I'll eat it. But I like to date with my wife. And then, like I said, I coach this 11U baseball team. We're really good. No. So just so you know, I coached my son from 7 years old to 14. And then he went to high school, and I was off for 3 years, meaning I didn't coach. And then my business partner, who has a now 10-year-old, he said, "Gotta coach my son." And I decided to do it. And once I did it, we did that all last year and then this year. And right now, we're the top 44th ranked team in the United States of America and the second ranked team in the state of Maryland.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're really good.
That's awesome.
We are the Marucci Prospects, 11U. And that's really where I spend a lot of my time.
Sure, I can imagine.
I was on the field last night. I was on the field Tuesday night. And then we play this weekend. We play 2 games on Saturdays, 3 on Sunday. And we have a very...
I'd say these kids are lucky to have you. It sounds like you're really involved in the actual team and making sure that they're winning. It sounds like you're really invested in it.
Well, you know, when you get to a certain level in baseball, it's not about catching, hitting, throwing. It's about understanding how to win at the little aspects of the game. So
does that apply to business? That same...
Yeah.
Is baseball life in reality?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that it's the little things. I mean, you know, why does this person do the deal with you and sell it to you for the same price, right? Why? You know, they sell it to you because they want to do business with you. Well, why do they want to do business with you? You know, you're offering $750. This other guy's offering $750. Actually, you're offering $750. This other person's offering $760. Why do they sell it to you? You know, people do business with people they want to do business with. And, you know, I have a real quick example of what not to do that I did that I learned a lot from. The wellness center that me and Ashraf owned that we sold on Eastern Avenue, before when we owned it, the second floor was an entertainment space. And we used to host a meetup for Investor Fuse. Investor Fuse is a CRM for wholesalers and investors, similar to Podio, but specifically customized to investors, where at Podio you can kind of do anything you want with any company if you customize it. But in any event, Investor Fuse said, hey, we want to do a meetup at your building. And we were like, sure. It was great publicity for us, and we got a chance to commingle with people from Baltimore. It's right on Eastern Avenue, right where Canton and Highlandtown meet, up from the park. And so there's this guy that walks in. He's got a T-shirt on. It's like almost like a Pac-Man T-shirt or like a Miller Genuine Draft T-shirt or whatever. It's kind of ratty. He has on some jeans and like some regular shoes. And when I say regular, I mean, I don't know what they are, but he looks like he was a skateboarder. And I'm dressed similar to this, and I'm commingling, talking to people, trying to understand who the people are in the room because I want to capitalize on, you know, talking to people. And so this guy, you know, he was talking to somebody, and I was introduced to him, and I didn't spend any time talking to him. I completely judged him as just this nobody, I wasn't mean to him, but I just didn't give him any time. Okay. So I don't know. I'm not hosting. This is my building, but I'm not hosting, right? So I'm helping to try to get things together because even though I own the building, I'm familiar with where the electrical is, and I'm trying to help Investor Fuse get together. So once we get together, they announce him, and he comes up. And he comes up to talk. And he is a partner of the largest lending firm in Baltimore.
Also happens to be a skateboarder, stoner, or something in between. We don't know.
And he's so wise and such a good man. And I said, man, look at that. And you know what's funny is the Bible talks about a rich man coming in and a person saying, here's a good seat for you. And a poor man coming in and the man saying, sit over there. And I said, that's exactly what I thought about. Now, I didn't say sit over there.
Sure.
But mentally I judged him. I judged him, who he is, his worth, all based on the way he looked. And it's like, whoa. And so, you know, I know you give me all these compliments, but listen, I'm a work in progress, and I will never, ever forget that. I have one other quick story where I actually met my largest client was at the National Property Preservation Conference that occurred this is 08. Yeah, this is 08. And so it's right after the meltdown, and REO companies and banks, they're trying to consolidate and determine who's going to do what. And there was a meeting at this hotel, and the meeting was Friday night was like the happy hour night, and then Saturday HUD was going to be there, and Sunday was like the final day. Some dignitaries were going to speak or whatever. So Friday night I go, and I'm talking to people, and I've got all these cards, and I'm a contractor at the time, and doing work for a couple of third-party vendors, but no, I wasn't the prime with any. I wasn't working directly with any banks. I was working with third-party asset management companies. They were paying me good, decent. You know, I was making money, and I had a lot of work. Anyway, I went Friday night and was drinking a little bit and met some people and had all these cards, right? So that night, I was talking to this young lady who had a non-compete with Home Depot. They would send her a ton of work because, you know, if you go to Home Depot and you want to get a door installed, they call a third-party contractor to put the door in. They don't have like employees that put doors in. But she was somebody that Home Depot would call to do a full renovation. And she was real pretty. And so I was talking to her, and I was like, oh, how can I sub for you? And it was really, no flirting, but just talking and enjoying being around a beautiful woman who can benefit me from giving me work. And so this guy sits down at the table, right? This guy with a real big cowboy hat, right? Big, bushy mustache, and he doesn't say a word, and we're talking, and I don't pay him no mind. And I'm talking to her the whole time. And he eventually leaves. So the following day, right, Housing and Urban Development introduced their keynote speaker. It is the president and CEO of Safeguard Properties, Robert Klein. And he walks up there, and I'm like, no. So this has happened to me 2 times in my life. This has happened to me two. This has happened. This has happened to me 2.
But I think there is something to be said about setting your own standards for yourself, and I think that is a line that gets drawn for a lot of people of, do I impose my view of what things should be on this person, or do I keep my mind open that there's other ways?
Absolutely.
And it's such a distinct line. And even just in our business, so every client we work with is different. Every partner we interact with is different. Every investor we have has different expectations of why they do certain things and the psychology of it all, why people do what they do. And it just becomes this really fascinating thing. And I think if you get back to it, if you just have a standard operating procedure and you know who you are and you know what you want to do and you stand firm in that, like anything's possible.
Right.
Because you can't move. Nobody can move you. So the guy in the Stussy the shirt, he doesn't care.
Right.
He just doesn't care.
Doesn't care.
All these tech moguls where they say they don't care what people think about them. They care about getting the thing done.
Right. That's right.
And I just think that there's such a gap between that. We talk about information, knowledge gap between what people think it should be versus what somebody knows they need to do.
Right.
And there's just so much there. And, we've covered so much, but a lot of it does have to do with, I think, your philosophy, your religion, your upbringing, your goals, the industry you're in, what you see, what you don't see. But, just so many people aren't exposed to things. And if they don't see it, they don't know, then they don't understand. And, your examples are probably the lightest of that spectrum.
Right.
But,
Can't judge people.
Exactly.
And you never
know.
Until
you need to.
Absolutely. But especially just because he's wearing a big old cowboy hat and looks a little goofy, or because he's wearing a Pac-Man shirt and everybody else pretty much is looking professional. This isn't a professional event. People are dressed professional. Not everybody's wearing a suit.
Maybe that's the shtick. Maybe that's the secret these guys have figured out. Yeah.
But the goal is not for me to determine the shtick. The goal is for me to say, you know what? I'm not going to treat this person that way.
Yeah.
I remember my wife one time was sitting down at the Metro, and she was reading what's called a daily bread, which is like the Bible broken down into a little verse where she could learn something, and it's for the day. And this guy sits down to her really big with all these tattoos, and he taps her on her shoulder, and she acts like she doesn't feel it. And then he taps her again, and she's like, yes. And he's like, do you have another one of those daily breads? And she's like, oh.
Yeah.
She thought that he was like, I don't know, because he was big and strong with all these tattoos, and he kind of touched her.
Yep.
So I just think that what are tattoos? Tattoos are fine. What's a goofy hat? It's fine. What's a Pac-Man T-shirt? It's fine. You don't
tell my mom that. I went to my most recent tattoo, and I told her what the next one was, and she was about to kick me out of the house.
Oh, really?
I don't know. But
so I have a way that I grew up, right, with how to look and how to look professional, and there's certain ways I just have to look. But not everybody has that persuasion, and that's okay, And so you just have to make sure that you give everybody a chance.
Sure.
Yeah. So I guess I'll end with that.
Just getting back to business and, just kind of wrapping up in context where we are now and what you're seeing from a business perspective, what do the next 6-12 months look like, even 3 to 6 months look like in residential real estate investing in Baltimore and DC? Is this time to buy? Is this time to wait? Does anything materially change for your business in these potentially significant recessions that we may face?
Right.
Is everything going to be okay, or are we simply overreacting based on Fed guidance and interest rates?
Boy, you asked a lot. I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer it very, very popcorn. So I will say that over the last year, me and my partner have been selling, right? We've been selling because we're able to get more for things that maybe aren't quite worth that much, but because rates were so low, it was a good time to sell. And keeping our money on the sideline for the opportunity to buy at a better amount, right? And so right now we're seeing rates increase, and so clearly prices for acquisition are going to have to decrease as rates increase because people can buy less with less money. And so that's why we took our money out of the market. Now, is this a time to get afraid and this, that, and the other? And is the sky falling? I mean, I don't have a crystal ball.
Do we wait and see? Is that your perspective on this stuff as an investor? Do you kind of have to just judge it once we get through it? Or do you take the more Warren Buffett crystal ball approach to anything? Or is it really about where we are now and then making sound decisions?
Well, I'm still judging deals as they come and making a decision of whether we want to do it based on numbers that we believe we can get in that market and then projecting out 1 year. So, if it's a good deal, what we're not doing is stretching. What we're not doing, some people shoot for tomorrow because they think, if I buy for this, I know it'll be worth that. Well, that's not a smart strategy in this market right now, unless you have money that's willing to wait it out 5 to 10 years. And there are some people.
Well, like you need to do a 501, whatever. Transfer.
Yeah. So there are people that are looking at places to park money so that they have that asset and they know it'll be worth.
Sure.
You know that if you buy something in Highlandtown,
opportunities.
It'll go somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think for your typical residential home buyer, if you need somewhere to live, you're going to have to buy. I mean, you just need to look for a good deal. But I mean, in terms of the market, it's like I say with me and my partner, we've been taking our money out of the market to look for good deals once these rates impact the acquisition, and then try to pounce on properties that are sold for less on the dollar than previously, because there have been a considerable amount over the last 3-4 years bidding wars. Where like everybody wants. Yeah, well, rates have been so low and money has been free.
Right.
So when everybody has money, everybody's bidding it up. And so the only people that could really benefit are people that have cash, so that they could pay over market value. And then because the bank's not going to finance what they're willing to sell it. The bank's not going to finance what people are willing to pay. They're going to finance the value. So if something's worth $1 million and people are willing to pay 1.3, well, they're not going to finance 1.3. They're going to finance the $1 million, and probably not. They'll probably make you put 10% down if you're getting conventional. Yeah. So yeah. But I'm optimistic about real estate.
Do you velocity of deals, Matt? Like, do you guys have we need to do X amount of deals, or you really do you get the benefit of just being able to decide when you want to make an investment, or do you have to, like in your mind, do you have to do a certain amount of deals to keep up with your velocity?
Well, we've purchased some property that is for development, but we haven't started it yet. No, and I don't mean tons of properties. I mean, we have a couple multi-unit properties that we haven't started, that we bought, that are on the shelf, ready for us to do construction. And so we're not doing them concurrent. So we have a little bit of a pipeline there. But that's only on a development side. On a flip side, we don't have anything in the pipeline. We just
the market sucks.
Yeah, the market sucks.
Right.
But what I will say, what we have been doing is partnering with people. And I think that a lot of times you hear partner, and it's a way to say, I don't have any money, but I have a deal. Well, no, I think that add value partners that bring a special skill set or resources to get the deal done, they mean a lot. And so we've done a couple of partnerships recently where it made sense. Somebody might have a deal, but they don't have the money, but they can lease it out, or they can do the construction. There's different, I guess in layman's terms, you find the deal, you buy the deal, so you got to pay for the deal, you develop the deal, and you either rent it out or you sell it. So the 4 aspects are equally important. So you might have a partner that just puts up all the money. You found the deal, you can do the development, and you can lease it out, but you don't have the money, and they've got the money.
And sharing that equity cash flow.
Right, or you got a guy that does all the construction turnkey. And trust and believe, construction's important. No, because construction requires a unique skill set and to be able to do business with the local municipality. So doing business with Baltimore City is terrible. Doing business with DCRA is terrible. The bureaucratic bullcrap, getting things approved, inspections. I mean, we just got to stop work ordered a property for nothing.
They put one on my front door after my fence was built.
Yeah, right. It's like...
and I'm 6 feet recessed. We had the permit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I
think the new mentality of the district is to just give fines, and then it's almost like wearing them down. Because, in order to fight it, you have to, like, do this and do that. It's almost like you don't really see police officers stopping people anymore. You just have these machines that take a picture, and they take a picture, and then they just mail it to you, and then a certain amount of people pay, and it's revenue.
People that actually know there's nothing wrong.
There's not right. Oh, we were. Oh, yeah, you weren't speeding. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, so that is So yeah. And you know, we've got some brokers that we work with that like working with us and that know that we are going to buy. You know, I think agents and even wholesalers don't like to broadcast their deals to the public unless their internals are not interested. And so, you know, you get a reputation for being serious if you perform. And so we have a couple of people that know if they find something, they'll bring it to us because they're going to definitely make their money because we're going to show up. You do have people out there that say they're going to show up and then they don't. And so that's not good because especially when a person that's a wholesaler has a property under contract, they know they can't perform and they're relying on us to perform. And then if we say no, they look bad and either they lose their earnest money or at worst, not worse, but equally as bad, they have to tell somebody that thought they were selling, I can't buy your property. And that's when that person who had their hopes up now is very angry with that wholesaler. So we have a couple of wholesalers and several brokers we work with that bring us deals. We don't have a pipeline though, but we have people that are calling us about stuff and then we say yes or no.
Right. Reliability. They can trust you.
Yeah. So that's what's happening on the real estate side, man.
Like in closing, if you could try to consolidate all of your influences in life and your experience to date, you know, what's the best advice you can give to somebody who is trying to make it in their career or maybe try something new, but simply just, you know, isn't ready to take the leap or is feeling like they're unsure if it's the right thing. But if they want to, like if somebody's trying to accomplish something, whether it's in business or in life in general, like what's your best advice for somebody in that situation?
Well, I'm going to say several things. Number one, the hardest thing to do is to get started. Okay. The second hardest thing to do is to finish. The middle takes care of itself. People like to talk about stuff. Get started. That's number one. Number two, I would say do in many instances what you know, what you're good at. Because what you're good at, it's easier to do it. If you're not doing something that you're good at, it's hard and you don't enjoy it. And so that's been a big one. And I would also say, number three, you know, there's nothing wrong with partnership. You know, 2 is better than 1 and 3 is a chord. And so I've had a couple of business partners in my life, and I'm very grateful for those relationships because I've learned a lot through them. And my current business partner, who I plan to have as my business partner for life, he teaches me so much. Very good man, Ashraf El Shazli. And so I guess the lights are going out.
We're going to roll with it. We're going to roll with it.
Okay, we're going to roll with it.
No, I think this might be a cool alternate lighting for the close, actually.
Yeah, so, you know, I remember as a school teacher saying, man, what's transferable from this? Am I going to start a school? So I couldn't really take the knowledge of education and apply it to starting a school or a curriculum creation company or a tutoring company, but I was able to take my skill set. And so you want to be mindful of, you know, there's 2 things that go into what you know. So if you're a physical therapist, well, shoot, you can have a physical therapy company, right? If you work for a marketing firm, you can step out and start a marketing company. But if you're a school teacher, you need to take a look at what are your strengths. Is it public speaking? You know, is it writing? You know, and then those skills are transferable. Find something that interests you. And so that's really, because when I say stuff, I don't want the person to hear it and be like, oh, it sounded good. I want them to be able to apply it, right? So the next thing is, okay, well, when should I get started? How should I do it? I think, you know, and I wouldn't call myself a religious man, but in all sincerity, I would pray about it first. I would say, Lord, help me to understand what I should do, and then have your eyes open as you see the Lord at work, because people come up to you and you miss that. You might miss that they said to you something that directly would impact your decision making. Don't just go about your daily, just whatever you do. Be paying attention to what's happening in the atmosphere. The same way that, and I'll move off this point, but the same way that you can go to like if you go to a house where pigs have been slaughtered and it was a slaughterhouse and you walk in, you can kind of feel it. You know the atmosphere is real. And you can, like an alley, like you can sense sometime, like, I'm not going down that alley. You can sense everything is, if oxygen is in the air, if oxygen is a real thing and we can't see it, there's all types of stuff going on up in the air. And so pay attention to what's happening. So what to do and when to do. I would say get busy YouTubing and Googling. And that sounds so stupid, but the reality is there's so much, and we don't have to just settle for like in the black community, it's t-shirts, rapper, athlete, what's the other one? There's one other one that a lot of times we migrate to, but there's so much out there, and the internet has and it takes you down rabbit trails. So you'll do this, and you're like, oh, I didn't hear about that, and I didn't hear about that, and then you get into this niche that interests you. Man, pursue it.
Do it because you want to do it.
Yeah. So
don't do it because other people want you to do it, or that's what you think you need to do.
Well, my son, for example, he's about to have to get Tommy John surgery. He's a pitcher, and he has really learned so much about arm care. And we were talking. I was like, yo, son, listen. This might be something you need to focus on for college. No, because he's passionate about baseball, but he doesn't need to be a baseball coach like his dad. Like, when you like baseball, you become a baseball coach. Or a hitting instructor. It doesn't have to be just that. It can be a specialty of arm care, because all these kids are playing baseball all year round. So we're seeing kids getting Tommy John surgery at like 15. And we need to understand more about the arm and arm care. And there's no major for that in college. It's not here yet. The same way that there used to be a phone that you would talk on, but you couldn't see somebody, and now you can see. The same way there was no DoorDash, and now there is. There's no arm care major. And so I was saying, hey man, let's pursue that. So and he was like, you know what, Dad, I think you're right. Because what is he going to college for right now? He's going to college for construction management and business, because he's looking at me, doing what Dad does, because I'm me, Dad. And, I was like, because he gets a lot out of the arm care, and he also has been impacted, so he's living it. So it's an experience that he can relate to. So I think he would be very genuine if he became that, because it's almost like Jonathan Dela Cruz, who got shot. Now he's doing guns down, gloves up. He can relate to it, so he's very passionate. When he talks about it, sometimes he cries because it happened. And I think more people need to. The same reason why when people have cancer, that's when they are in the marathon. They're passionate about the Jimmy V Foundation. When things are something that you're good at, or something that you enjoy, or that there's a personal connection, I think those are the things you should pursue. And I think you should pursue it now. And I think you should get started, because that's the hardest part. And I think it's good to form partnerships. There's nothing, even if the partner doesn't have equity, but I know I'm talking forever, but my business partner Ashraf, the first way he partnered with me was he gave me money. I had all these construction jobs, I couldn't afford them. And so he gave me money, and he said, just give me 8%. I said, no problem. And so that's when I had those bank contracts. He was the guy that gave me money. He refinanced his house, got $100,000, and gave me $100,000. I needed it because the bank only gave me a third of the number, and I made 30%, which means there's a delta. If they give me 30 and I make 30, there's a delta of 40. And so for every $100,000, I need $40,000. So anyway, that's how we started, in a partnership form, because it's hard to get there by yourself. So that's all I got, man.
Amazing. Seriously, that was incredible. And I hope you all watching this realize how lucky you are to have heard all of this incredible wisdom in your experience. And I would highly encourage you to start your own video podcast series and share your knowledge with people on a more regular basis. You have a lot to share, not just from a business perspective, but personally and spiritually and otherwise. So I hope this was fun for you.
This has been great.
Anytime you want to use our podcast, you're more than welcome to.
Let me know when you need me back. I'm honored to do it. I really like you, Andrew. This is phenomenal. This has been a great situation. I'm just glad I was able to speak freely, and thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, and we'll see you next time.
There you go.
Thanks.
All right, now.